There's no evidence he has any ideas about making America great, as he advertises. He seems to be particularly focused on making himself appear great.
Well, there you've got Hillary Clinton yesterday on Meet the Press, and here we've got Eric Trump as the lights are dimming in the studio.
Ooh. Right, that was my idea.
We're getting romantic.
Ambiance, you know?
Moonlighting. Yeah. So what did you make of Hillary Clinton taking a shot at your dad? He's not out to make America great.
Well, you know, when I read the post this morning, I lit up. I mean, I was ecstatic. Pole vault. Trump flies, Hillary cries, and fourth straight presidential survey. So, you know, he's doing so well. He's doing great. And I think people are sick of the career politicians. They're sick of the scandals. They're sick of the nonsense. And you guys had one of the all-time great, you know, little things on Twitter this weekend, right? She has 730 people working on her campaign staff. We have 70. She spent $180 million on her campaign so far, and she hasn't beat a single socialist. My father's knocked off 17 other people, and he spent 50. I mean, that's the difference between a businessman and a politician, and I think people are realizing that.
Well, Eric, how do you explain the fact that your father is surging in these 4 national polls?
Listen, he's honest. He speaks his mind. He's charismatic. He's different. The current system that we have clearly isn't working. I mean, you see all the problems that we have as a country, whether it be our debt, whether it be our military, whether it be Iraq and Syria and, you know, everything else. You see scandals like Benghazi. You see the Clinton Foundation, what's happening, and the whole Energizer thing last week. I mean, it's a disaster. I mean, it's an absolute disaster.
A lot of people are saying that your dad's doing better now because the Republicans have already chosen who their nominee, the presumptive nominee, will be. Do you think when the Democrats choose their nominee, then it's going to be a little tougher on your dad?
Well, listen, hey, we'll see, right? I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure they're all going to coalesce around her. They already have. You saw Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I mean, she's already effectively endorsed Hillary. I mean, talking about a broken system, but probably, but listen, I think he's going to do incredibly well in the polls, and he's gained 11 points in the last month and a half. I mean, 11 points over Hillary in the last month and a half, and I don't think she's going to get that back easily, believe me.
I don't know what your post game is like, but I know there's been some big meetings going on. We understand that Jim Baker, one of the most experienced guys on the Republican side, has met.
Sure.
Henry Kissinger, a lot of publicity. Today, Bob Corker.
Sure.
Is there anything insight you can lend to us on what goes on behind the scenes? Because these are guys who know foreign policy, and where your dad was building businesses, they were dealing with countries. What goes on behind the scenes?
Well, and I was actually at the Kissinger meeting, but you know, my father's meeting with the best and brightest people around the world.
But are they surface meetings? Are they like, let me show you the globe and what I think to do with Vietnam, with Saudi Arabia, with China?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, very, very, very detailed. And, you know, he's going to the best and brightest people. And that's how my father always ran a business, right? I mean, he got the best, the brightest, the most hardworking people. He put them in the room. He asked for a lot of opinions. He asked for their thoughts. And then he made a decision. And it's kind of interesting as you see this process unwind. He's doing the exact same thing. You know, he's getting the advice of the best, smartest people, and he'll ultimately make his own decision and chart his own path. But believe me, there won't be a single important, influential person who's, you know, at the top of their game that he won't meet with. Quite frankly, on both sides. I mean, he's going to want opinions, and he's going to want to make, you know, proper decisions. On
the conservative side, Lindsey Graham and your father have been at odds with each other ever since the primary, and Lindsey dropped out early.
At least.
And apparently, now, over the weekend, at an event down in Florida, Lindsey Graham, who has said he's not going to support your father, is telling Republicans, hey, we got to support this guy.
Well, listen, what's the ultimate goal, right? The ultimate goal is making sure Hillary doesn't get into office. That's what all of us want, right? I mean, if she gets into office, it's another 4 or 8 years of the same nonsense that we have right now. So I'm glad to see that. I mean, I'm glad to see the party starting to come around. They're also starting to get to know my father. They're starting to get to know the man that he is. He is an amazing guy. I say this all the time. And he will win this. Believe me, he will work harder than her. He will do whatever it takes to win this thing because the state of the country is really on the line. I mean, we could be putting 4 Supreme Court justices in the next term.
I know.
That is the state of our country. I mean, make no mistake about it. That is the state of our country.
That's the number one issue for a lot of people, too. The number one reason people will go to the polls. You know, Jeb Bush is kind of getting on the Trump train as well. At least he's saying people who support Trump, they deserve respect. Take a listen.
What I fear is that people kind of looking down their nose will say the people that are supporting Donald Trump are a bunch of idiots. They're not. They're legitimately scared. They're fearful. They're not as optimistic for legitimate reasons. And there should be respect for that.
Okay, so is that positive message about the Trump voter or about Trump himself?
Listen, I think it's probably both, and I think it's about the party, right? I mean, it's really about the party. And you got to remember with Lindsey Graham and with Jeb, you know, these things are so vicious inside, right? I mean, they're so hard. People put their whole lives on the line, and so sometimes
it hurts to lose.
It does hurt to lose, and sometimes it takes a little while to warm up, and that's what's happening. And you're seeing that with Lindsey, and you're seeing that with Jeb, and I think you're going to see it with all the others as well. People want to see us beat Hillary. We will beat Hillary. And the party's coming around in a big way, in a really big way.
And this is very much like sports, and the tactics will win it. I mean, most people say if she has a better game plan, she's going to win. If you guys have a better game plan, you're going to win. Her latest game plan is that your dad's not that rich. He's a fake rich because he will not release his tax returns. What could you do outside releasing the tax returns to dispel her of that?
Yeah. Listen, there's no one closer to the company in the world than myself and my father and Don and Ivanka, right? He owns some of the great properties in the country, in the world. He's tremendously rich, and he's never shied away from that. I mean, you have so many other people across, right? I mean, Romney was one of them who shied away from his wealth. He's proud of that. He's achieved the American...
Romney's been the one all over you guys to release the tax.
He's also the one that shied away from his wealth. I mean, my father said, listen, I'm a great American success story, and that's why I want to run for Commander-in-Chief of the United States, and that's why I want to fix the problems, because I've done it in the private world, and I can do it in government. And that's a very special message. And listen, if somebody is under audit, you shouldn't release taxes. I mean, you shouldn't release taxes. Also, you don't learn a whole lot from taxes. You learn a whole lot more from a net worth statement, you know, than you do from taxes. You just don't learn a whole lot from taxes. But if you're under audit, you don't release taxes. It's crazy.
Yeah, he said his attorney is advising him against releasing them.
I heard Greta Van Susteren say the same thing. If she was his attorney last week, she said wouldn't.
Right.
All right, Eric, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.
Great with you guys as
Great
always.
seeing you.
Thank you.